for football season this week. We are at week 0. It's here. We're ready to do this. But before we dive into that, Anna, welcome. How's your week been?
It's been good. It's been really good. I just have to say, I love this football decor. You said we're gearing up for football season. My lady over here, she did some Hobby Lobbying. She did some Dollar Treeing. We got this nice vase with some fall flowers, some fall foliage.
Yeah.
I think one of the best parts about fall, football is always on your TV, but B, it just gets cozy inside the home. And I think we're bringing that on the set this week, and I commend you for that. You've made it feel like it is football season.
Yeah, so that's the vibe. When I'm hosting at my house for football games,
I'll be there every time.
Will you?
I'll be there every weekend.
I always have like my fall candles lit, and there's food cooking, and the smoker's usually going. So it's like a whole vibe, and it is cozy. So I wanted to make sure that was here.
Oh,
too.
It's happening. We love a cozy vibe.
We do love a cozy vibe.
We're all about a cozy vibe.
Do you have any game day
usually it involves I try to last season especially I was doing a pregame show for ESPN radio in Lexington. So I was in Lexington a lot of the Saturdays and that would kind of throw it off. But when I'm home, or like with my parents in Louisville, me and my dad will just game day all day long. And like week 0 is one of my favorite memories from last football season. Me and my dad just went out to the pool house at my parents' house and just watched all day long. I think that's what's so great about it. It's like family oriented.
Yeah.
And it just keeps you indoors and kind of like, I don't know, just having fun, being cozy with those around you. But that's what I love about football season. I wouldn't trade it.
I agree. For me, there's nothing better than waking up on a crisp fall Saturday morning, turning on College Game Day, and just like vibing on the couch in your cozy clothes and like having your window open when it's still warm enough to like let the fresh air in and let it just like, you hear the leaves falling outside.
Yeah.
It's a whole vibe.
You know what my favorite is too? Like if you ever go to Kroger or like a grocery store on a fall Saturday, it is the funniest thing ever because everyone is in their college football gear.
Yeah.
Like you're like walking down like the chip aisle and you're going to see an LSU fan. Like you kind of feel like you want to say something to them, but you're not. You're going to keep it together. But like you kind of want to talk a little smack.
Have tickets.
Yeah, exactly. Like
that's
just
what I would say.
Like, have you ever been to Death Valley? What was it like? Do you have a
gumbo
recipe?
I know LSU fans who live in Louisville.
Come on.
Yeah, so a girl that I used to work with, she is from Baton Rouge and moved up here.
Nice. Does she like it here?
She does like it here. But her son, who recently graduated from St. X, he started at LSU as a freshman. So she just took him down to Baton Rouge this week.
I bet that was good memories.
Yeah.
But it's so funny. Like if you go to a grocery store anywhere, because I guess everybody on a fall football Saturday, if you go early enough in the day, everybody's trying to get their ingredients to like cook for the day, whatever. And it's like Darwinism. It's like battle of the most fit, right? Like there's a Clemson fan in the dairy aisle. We gotta fight with them. We gotta pursue our dominance here. We gotta let them know who is boss. And it's just fun. I don't know. That's what I love. That's one of the things I love about sports is it's an identity that's bigger than you and a tradition that you can buy into. But I'm so ready. I'm so ready.
So we'll dive right into the college football season. We don't have any week 0 games for UK or U of L. But overall, how are you feeling about Kentucky season coming up?
That's a great question. And I'll just preface this by saying week 0 games, like don't take them lightly. That showed me so much last season about like Utah and Florida played, right?
Yeah. And we're going to do a few game predictions in a little bit, including the FSU Georgia Tech matchup, which is in Ireland.
I love that.
Yeah, you can't underestimate a week 0 game.
No, it's serious. And it really lays out kind of your ideas of the season. But okay, UK season in total, what I'm feeling. That's one of the hardest questions you could ask me to put into words. It's such an odd season. Last year, I would say I was ridiculously optimistic. You know, you had Liam Cohen back as an offensive coordinator. I had so much faith in the transfer portal and Devin Leary, and I bought in so hard to that. And things went awry. And whether that's just you didn't scout well for the talent you got in the transfer portal, or there was constrictions on how you wanted to let your offense play. But a little bit of my judgments of last season have kind of carried over into the preseason here. I have no expectations, but a neutral expectation that borderlines on, I wouldn't say negative, but I'm done with expecting a lot out of it, right? Like I have no idea. Bush Hamden, right? He's been offensive coordinator at Boise State. He did really well there, but I have no idea what he's going to look like in a Kentucky offense, especially when critics have been like, Mark Stoops has not really unleashed his offensive coordinator. He likes to play a little bit of a slower style, a little bit of an older style. I'm excited about the quarterback, Brock Vandegrift, but like to a degree, right? We have not seen any game footage of him. Devin Leary, we saw a ton of game footage and had a great high expectation for him. Still didn't even come close to delivering what everybody thought. Will Levis, I feel like there was at least some tape you could watch or have an idea of how he plays. Vandegrift, none, nothing.
Will Levis. Okay, so I am in my first fantasy football league this year.
You drafted him?
I did draft Will Levis on my fantasy
Chrissy,
team. Yeah,
I'm so happy.
I did.
You're gonna buy the cologne next.
Yeah.
You're gonna buy that mayonnaise cologne.
Don't count on it. Don't
Come
count
on.
on it. He is my QB2. I think I've got my
Chrissy, let's go, y'all. This is a big moment.
But it is
That's
a big moment. He's my
moment.
QB2. Justin Herbert is my QB1.
Okay.
But yes, I did draft Will Levis.
You like those guys with some
late.
good hair.
So
All your quarterbacks got good hair.
Full disclosure, this is an all girls league, okay?
Yeah.
And I didn't realize going into it that several of the women participating, they're not sports girlies, which is like totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But do you know much about fantasy football? Or
I played one
so you've played
time and I didn't love it. It wasn't really
I feel like Bosch and Bihal are going to shake their heads when they
Let
hear
'em.
me say this.
Let them.
6 quarterbacks went in the first round. You can hear him laughing back there. 6
There was a
quarterbacks
giggle.
went in the first round. And that's when I knew, guys, it didn't stop there. 6 quarterbacks in the first round, a kicker in the third round, and a defense in the 5th.
Are you lying to me?
No,
You're lying to my face.
Swear to God.
Because
So
it goes
that's
off
what I
name
knew.
brand, right?
Yeah. So it was obviously a lot of household names being drafted.
Right.
Travis Kelce was first overall. Like, sure.
I'm leaving.
Fine.
I'm going off the podcast.
And then of course, like, Josh Allen, Lamar, Patrick Mahomes, they all went first round.
Were you so heartbroken with Josh Allen?
No, because there were other Bills players that I wanted on my team more. And
Good for you, Chrissy. Good for you.
Yeah, no, I did get Dalton Kincaid, which was a big one for me. I did want Kincaid, and I got Keon Coleman.
Keon Coleman.
Yep.
There you go.
Yep.
I got confused the other day. I was trying to talk about Coleman Hawkins or something. He played college basketball at Illinois, transferred, and I kept wanting to call him Keon Coleman.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I was really, really happy to get Keon Coleman, but I knew when 6 QBs went in the first round, I was like, okay,
I'm going to win this league, y'all.
I'm gonna have my pick of players throughout.
Yeah.
So I'm not like shading these women, they're newbies, they're not sports people, they don't know.
Yeah.
I just knew at that moment though that I was gonna have like
my
pick of players throughout.
So, but this is your first time playing fantasy.
It is my first time.
So how did you know that
I've
strategy
been around it enough.
You just heard
I've
it.
just never had my own team.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever invited me before.
That's the saddest thing I've ever heard, and shame on all of you for never inviting Chrissy.
So no, I've just never had my own team before, but I know enough about it, and I'm around or have been around enough people who do play regularly to know that you don't do that. But Dave Skoll, when I was telling him about it, he did tell me, he was like, if you don't win this league, I'm roasting you for the rest of your life.
Was he proud of you though? Was he proud of you for your selections?
So he was really proud of me because I actually drafted Breece Hall first.
Let's go, baby.
Who plays for the Jets.
Come on.
I named my team Easy Breezy.
Easy Breezy, baby.
So Dave's very proud of me right now.
I love it. There's nothing better than having Dave Skoll than having Biscuit proud of you.
It's a life
That's the
goal.
best dude.
Like, if Dave Skoll ever looked at me and was like, I'm so disappointed in
if he
you.
wasn't like your dad thinking that.
Yes.
He'd be like, I'm so sorry.
It would be
You're the
worst.
nicest guy
like,
of all
I would
time.
immediately call my therapist.
I would cry.
And try to figure
And
out,
find
like,
a
how do I
therapist.
fix this?
You would call yours. I would find one.
I would call mine immediately if Dave Skoll
Like,
were ever
"Ma'am,
disappointed
emergency
in me.
meeting. Biscuit's mad. She'd be like, what? She's like, we need to talk more if Biscuit's mad at you.
Can you come in twice a week?
And you'd be like, yeah.
I'm going to have to.
Well, now that you're doing fantasy football, yeah, because that's the thing that got me about it. It was like a weekly commitment. Like you had to pick your roster. You had to. I did it in college, and it was like I guess that wasn't the right time. It's like you have classes. I was working for like multiple outlets, and I was also going to class and all this stuff. I was like, I can't be thinking about this right now.
Yeah.
But now maybe I want to try it again when I like have a full attention to it. Don't have a lot going on these days, so maybe right now's the time.
So is there anyone from Kentucky's team that you're expecting to be like a big breakout star this
I
year?
love that you
Someone you're
asked
looking
that.
forward to
Yeah.
seeing, or someone you expect to just exceed some
Yeah.
expectations set early?
I think if I'm answering from the heart, like my whole thing is I am hoping and praying this wide receivers room as a whole has a breakout year, because I think the thing with Stoops has always been like, oh, this is his most talented. This is his deepest wide receiver room. And it's like, all right, you say that every year. But the talent they have in that room now, especially with Barryon Brown there and with Dane Key, last season, my expectations were above sky high. They were huge for that room because they have the talent and it's deep. And I was excited about what they would bring to last year's offense, but it just didn't work out that way. This year, they have an entirely new offense, obviously, but a new wide receivers coach, DeKel Schwartz. And I'm excited about what what we've gotten from practice and from spring um, has been really, really good about what he's brought to the table from what some of the guys have said. Like, we know where we're supposed to be. We know what routes we're supposed to be running. Our skill set is it's just different. So that is what I'm hoping is the breakout position group. But my breakout player, I think I'd have an eye on. I would look at defense, honestly. And Deion Walker is somebody you want to go to first, but somebody else on the defensive line is Khalil Saunders. And he has the same type of NFL body type of strength, of height, of everything. And I think all eyes have been on Deion Walker, but I think Khalil Saunders is another critical part of this defensive line. And I completely have faith that he was going to have a breakout season and be on a lot of radars coming out of this season. Anybody on the defense, Maxwell Harrison, he proved himself a lot last season, but I think we're going to see the most kind of impact players on the defensive side. But I'm hoping offensively it comes from the wide receiver room.
Yeah, wide receiver rooms have been a hot topic
Bro,
around this
they
city
have.
this week.
We got subtractions and additions.
We did. I was writing notes for today's show yesterday, and we knew Colin Lacey was going to be out. He broke his collarbone in practice, had his surgery last week. But then yesterday, a little rumor popped up that Amari Huggins-Bruce was coming back. And I think everybody's first impression, like, I know for me, I was like, how?
How's
like,
that going to work?
How does that work?
Yeah.
And I sent Mark Ennis a text yesterday, and I was like, okay, like, are there legs to this?
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, I think so.
No
and
way.
I said, okay, I want the nerdy stuff. Give me the bylaws that we're working with to make this happen.
I was thinking the same thing when I heard this.
Like, I wanted the nerdy breakdown of, like, what loopholes have we found to make that work? And if you're listening and you don't know who that is, Amari Huggins-Bruce played at Louisville, transferred to South Carolina for this year, and is now, as of today, I guess, or as of tomorrow, officially back at Louisville. So I am very curious. I was writing my notes and I was like, okay, who do I think is going to have a breakout year? Then we hear today that he's like for sure coming back, and I'm like, okay, let me just like throw this away.
Pull it out, baby.
It's Amari Huggins-Bruce for me, and let me tell you why.
Tell me why.
This is his second chance. This is his revenge tour.
Okay.
This is his opportunity to come back to Louisville and make a huge statement. The fact that he wanted to come back after being at South Carolina, and the fact that Brom and the team were, and by team I mean like, in the locker room, wide receivers room, seem so okay with him coming back and filling that position says a lot. There's a little added pressure on him, but I think he's going to be up for that pressure.
Okay.
And I think he's going to be extremely coachable with that pressure on him, and knowing that this is his second chance at Louisville to make a statement and make a name for himself here, and get wins for this team. So my money's on him to just have a huge breakout year this year.
I love that. Okay,
I hate saying breakout year because like he's a talented player. Like he doesn't need a breakout year,
right?
But I think you're gonna see him exceed a lot of expectations this year.
I understand completely when you said that Brom is on his side and wants to bring him back. I'm going to play devil's advocate for a minute. Does it concern you at all that he leaves, goes to South Carolina, and really can't crack the rotation there, and then wants to come back? Like, how big of a point of concern is that for you? What does that say about him as a player, that he wasn't like thrilled with the role that he would have at South Carolina and that he wants to come back to Louisville? What does that say about their depth or their wide receivers room or his skill set? Uh, does that mean anything to you?
Not necessarily, not at
Okay.
this point.
Yeah.
I think had Colin Lacey not gotten injured
Mhm.
and we were having this conversation, my opinion would be very
That's a
different.
great point.
I think if we didn't have that role to fill through the first or probably the majority of this season, I would have more concerns with him wanting to leave South Carolina and come back to Louisville.
Mhm.
Speaking on his character and him, his talent and just who he is as a player, I think his reasons for wanting to come back are genuine.
Yeah.
I don't think it's boils down to just simply him not getting the playing
Like
time he wanted.
dissatisfaction.
Yeah.
He saw something
Yeah.
bigger that he could go for.
I think a little bit of that is hindsight too. Like I think he went to South Carolina and sometimes you learn the grass ain't always greener.
Yeah. Who hasn't not learned that in their life?
Welcome back.
Yeah. Welcome back. Come on.
Amari.
Let's see what you can do. I love the point you brought up that Braun probably wouldn't have taken a chance on him if he didn't see him as a legit contributor.
I
and
don't
somebody who would
think
be
so.
committed to the program.
I don't think he even would have allowed a conversation to happen
Mhm.
if he didn't feel like the feelings and the motivation were genuine coming
Yeah.
from Amari Huggins.
I wonder who approached who first in that situation.
I can tell you what I think.
Come on, what do you think?
I think Louisville approached him first.
I'm like, come on home. The kids miss you.
We're in such a different landscape with college athletics now.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to use the word tampering because I don't think it was tampering. I think Louisville likely did their due diligence in researching bylaws and figuring out how they could make it work. I think Louisville approached him first, but I think they probably had some sort of indication that he wasn't happy at South Carolina.
Mm-hmm. Oh, right.
Where or who that indication came from, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And this is all speculation. I just want to be on record saying that, like, I don't have sources on this. This
Right.
is just what I think.
Conjecture.
I do think Louisville probably approached him with some sort of indication.
Okay.
But I also think they did their due diligence and didn't do any sort of illegal tampering.
Right. What's so interesting here, too, is that, scholarships were filled up. You would have to be a walk-on. And this is the first instance that I've really heard of that it's been like, okay, NIL is going to pay they're going to come together
They're
and
essentially giving
pay
you
your
scholarship.
scholarship.
Yeah.
They're going to pay your tuition. And I'm like, that just opens the door for so many ideas of ways you can do that and like get outside of the scholarship
it does.
guidelines.
It does. And I think that's going to bring a lot of Title IX into question too.
Whoa, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. Having NIL, while on one hand it is a great thing, I think it's such a fluid landscape right now.
Mm-hmm.
What is happening at Louisville with Amari is uncharted territory so far. I'm with you. I haven't heard of this happening at another school where the NIL collective is basically like, here you
We
go.
got
Like,
you.
don't worry about not being a scholarship player. It's not a big
Mhm.
deal. So you have to wonder, are more NILs gonna start doing that? And I think they will. And I think that's gonna open up a lot. Baseball is a very good example. Baseball, you get 11 plus some scholarships. Well, you're talking about teams of a lot more than 11 players.
Mhm.
So I think you may see NIL come into play with baseball scholarships.
Yeah.
If people are going to start taking this and running with it.
That's a great point. And to even like put up like a super team of, let's say you even like pay your non-scholarship players, you give them a little incentive for not being, like you could put together a crazy team
Sure.
with so many backups. But yeah, NIL, from what I know of it, it is not guided at all by Title IX. There's no implication.
Right.
And that, I wonder when that will come into play, because scholarships obviously are, mandated by Title IX. How many you can have, how the funding is equally distributed. That's been a big part of it. So I wonder how that will if Title IX will ever come into play with that, how the female athletes. But what's
Yeah.
interesting, especially with NIL, is that female athletes who are the people who make the most off NIL are female athletes.
Yeah. And I think at some point we're going to have to see some sort of guideline or written rules on NIL contributing to scholarships
Mm-hmm.
and how that's going to play out,
Yeah.
because it will affect Title IX
Yeah.
if you get into the weeds on that too much.
I'm honestly shocked it's taken this long for
I
something
am
like that
too,
to
now that
pop
we're
up.
talking about
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
And it may have happened and we just
And we
don't know
just
about
don't know
it.
about it. But it's been such like at a state level, right? Like I'm interested to see when it would become like a federal level thing where every school has to do the same thing, and there's
Yeah.
restrictions and there's guidelines on how you have to do it. Because right now, I mean, I was surprised it's taken this long, but think about it 5 years down the road, the ideas that some people will have to go around it or use
Yeah,
it.
and that's what I mean when I say the landscape's fluid with NIL, because things are changing every single day. Whether it be, how the money's distributed, how the money's collected, schools starting collectives, how it's affecting NCAA guidelines, the NCAA constantly, changing rules on a monthly basis at this
Mm-hmm.
point.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not a ton of consistency
Right. At
within it.
all. Yeah.
And I think there's going to have to be before it starts to affect things too negatively.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree.
All that being said, I still do support NIL and what it stands
Yeah.
for. I think it's very important. And my legs like a
Get them
stick.
legs out, baby.
Um,
Get them stretch it out, honey. Let's get comfortable.
so I will be interested to see how that affects things.
Yeah. It's just disappointing that like the NCAA knew that this was coming along. They knew that this was happening for decades. I mean, the writing was on the wall. You knew eventually
Oh,
that
yeah.
this would be the thing. To have no plan in place, to have no idea of restrictions that you want to have of like, or a reason why like you can't use this for scholarship or you can. To have nothing in place is just a complete
Waste of time.
and just a testimony to the NCAA and what they're about. Like to not have any forethought on that is ludicrous, and how insane their organization is or what their rules are. Who is it really benefiting and for what? Is it for the good of the student athlete, the good of the organizations, or is it like a power structure to keep people in in a type of power structure that you control, that you have guidance over, right? I think that's been really big. They had no plan in place at all.
Says a lot about them as an organization.
It does. I think so too.
So we got really sidetracked on that.
Yeah,
NL
sorry.
stuff.
You're welcome.
So yeah, I think Amari Huggins-Bruce is going to be a star on Louisville's team this year because he is living with that pressure.
Mhm.
All that being said, the Brom offense as a whole, I think, is going to just be incredible this year. I think we're going to see a lot of explosive plays from them. But overall, I do see a couple of losses. I would love to go to Notre Dame and get a win there.
Yeah.
I don't see it. I don't think it's gonna happen.
You really? I think that's so
I think that's
interesting
gonna
too.
be. I think that's a realistic loss to have on the list as well.
I feel like last season I would think that too, but it's like they pulled out that win. Like you never know.
They did. I wasn't there, but they did.
That's a whole nother story.
That is, I was talking about it
listeners.
on middays today. Yeah, I do see a few losses. I think that one, and I think Louisville loses 3 games this year.
Okay.
I think they have a good year, but I think we do walk away with 3 losses. Where are you with Kentucky's?
Before I
record?
get to that, I want to talk about. I feel similar about Louisville. I think Clemson, Florida State, Notre Dame. I can't remember what I picked them going. I picked it earlier. I think last week I picked them. Their schedule.
So they open with Austin Peay. That's going to be a win for me.
Yeah.
Jacksonville State's going to be a win. Georgia Tech, Notre
Win.
Dame, I think will be their first loss of the year.
I think I had that as well.
And that's in South Bend. And then they've got SMU at home.
People are acting like that's like a hard game to pick. I think that's Louisville. Like I don't see SMU
Okay,
as the
so
same threat that other
I
people
see a
them.
little bit of validity in that.
Yeah.
I think Louisville wins, but I don't think Louisville wins easily.
Okay.
I was actually having this conversation with some people the other day, who SMU is a little deceiving. They were good last year.
Mm-hmm.
They were good last year.
Yeah.
Like, I don't expect them to come in and run the ACC. They're not
Yeah.
going to do that. But I don't think it's going to be as easy of a win for Louisville as some people are anticipating.
Yeah. A lot of people are
It'll be a
picking
battle.
SMU as like their dark horse out of the ACC.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I would agree with
I'm
that.
not ready to jump on board with that yet.
And that's fair. And then they have Virginia on the road in Charlottesville. Miami's going to be a home game. I
Yeah.
think that's going to be a tough one. I'm going to give that one to Louisville
Yeah.
just because it's a home game, and I think the energy is going to be there.
Yeah.
And then they'll be on the road at Boston College, at Clemson, at
Yeah.
Stanford. So
Yeah,
they'll
yeah.
have three away games. And I definitely see a loss at Clemson.
Yeah, yeah. Because I think it was Miami I had, not Florida State, obviously.
And yeah, they're going to play Florida State.
Yeah,
this
sorry.
year.
I meant Miami. So Miami, Clemson. I'm on the fence about a Kentucky loss too. Notre Dame.
You know, a lot of people I've heard actually from Louisville fans having a Kentucky loss this year.
Yeah?
Tossed on it.
I was more skeptical about it last season than I was this season, than I am this season. But yeah, I don't know. I think we're maybe similar in our projections there. So you had Kentucky as what? Loss or win for Louisville?
Win for Louisville.
Okay, win for Louisville. I think I had Kentucky as I cannot remember, and I don't have the schedule in front of me. 7-5, maybe. I think I had 'em.
Okay. Obviously, a loss to Georgia.
Lost to Georgia.
We're gonna go on and mark that one.
I wish I had my schedule in front of me. I'd have lost. I'll tell you what. I'd have lost to Georgia, Texas, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Auburn.
Do they play in?
Yeah, so 7-5.
Do they play in Knoxville this year, or is that a home game in Lexington?
That's a great question. I don't remember.
I'm gonna look that up.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason I ask is because I love Knoxville. So
you do? Mm-hmm. I think you're the first person I've ever heard say that. And no hate, no shade.
I do. I love Knoxville.
What do you love about it?
I like it's a quaint city.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good restaurants down there. There's a place called Cruise Farms that has some of the best ice cream I've ever had in my entire life.
No way.
It's a dairy farmer started it.
Yeah.
And that they live like right outside of Knoxville. And it's all soft serve.
Oh,
but they
that's
have
what I'm talking about.
I know. They have like 30 flavors of soft serve. It's so good.
What'd you get?
So good. They change them. So they have seasonal
ones.
Okay. But I'm a chocolate girly, so like.
Are you? See, I'm vanilla.
Yeah, I'm a chocolate
I go vanilla. Vanilla all the way. But sometimes I'll do like a swirl if I gotta do a swirl.
My best friend loves vanilla ice cream, and
it's me.
I'm always like, okay, but like there's no flavor. And she told me one time, she said, okay, but hear me out. When you go to an ice cream shop and you get vanilla ice cream, you're able to judge their ice cream based off their vanilla.
It's because the barometer.
Yeah, exactly.
It's what I do with online shopping. Like if I go to a new store, I like press dresses first. If your dresses are cute, your store is cute.
Yes.
Same with ice cream.
Yep.
There you go.
That's right. That's
there
correct.
You go, baby.
That is correct.
I've been in Knoxville like once or twice, but
it's a nice little town. We go for weekend trips pretty often.
And I gotta say, their game day experience looks awesome.
Okay, so I've actually been to a UT home game.
Did you like it?
Okay,
tell us everything.
Labor Day weekend every year, there is the Big Kahuna Wing Festival. It's a hot wing festival in Knoxville that they host at the park.
Sign me up.
Okay, but you know what Labor Day weekend is? It's also week 1.
Right.
So the first year we went down there for the hot wing festival, UT had a home game to open their season that year. It was the year they were playing they were playing a state school from somewhere that like came back and beat them at the end of the game. I can't remember who it was.
Was Heupel the coach at this time?
It was the same year the boat caught on fire. Like the same weekend. So as far as game day experience, I mean the vibes are there.
In the stadium, oh my gosh.
SEC game day experience, as you would imagine it. But it was so hot that weekend that like there was no having a good time.
Yeah.
So it was just so hot. And
like
it's such a big stadium. We didn't have great seats. Like we were just going for the vibes.
Yeah.
Neyland's an old stadium. Neyland needs some upgrades.
Do they still have bleachers?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember I went in like 8th grade for a Tennessee Kentucky game with like one of my friends from grade school, and both of our dads went with us. And Kentucky like almost pulled it out that game and then lost on some
Yeah.
dumb stuff. And but
I
it was cool.
I
It was
would
fun.
find a new reason to go to Knoxville though.
Yeah, I don't see Knoxville's not on my list of like best SEC towns. Like,
See, and for me,
nah.
it's not even about like it's not a sports thing. So like
Yeah,
Nashville for me, I need to have a reason to go.
yeah.
I don't go to Nashville just to go to Nashville. I don't like Nashville.
You don't? Okay.
I don't.
Why?
No.
Because it's become like Vegas-y.
I
It's becoming a
want
little
to
bit fake.
have a reason to go. Louisville playing a bowl game? Okay, sure.
You're
I'll
there.
go. I'll go. I'm down.
Yeah.
Knoxville, I'll find a reason to go.
You like it that much? I've never, and I'm not like no hate, no shade. I've never heard that. Like, but maybe that's just like SEC hate, right?
It could
Like I've heard
be.
like
It
I feel
could
that
be.
way about like Ole Miss, like Oxford, Mississippi, or like Georgia, like these college towns that are like really like super SEC, super great towns, super party experience. But I've not heard that about, and that's not just from UK fans. That's just from like my whole experience. I've never heard that.
I enjoy it there. It's
You just like
quaint. It's a
that.
chill town.
Maybe we should go to. Maybe I should go with you.
It's a
and
good
check it
like
out.
little overnight trip because
Yeah.
it's not a long drive.
Yeah.
And they've got a lot of good places to eat. There's like a city center town square area that's full of like restaurants and bars, and they have
Ooh.
like street performers at night, and it's
Okay.
really cool. And then right around the corner is a street. It's called Gay Street, and they have more bars, restaurants. That's where the ice cream shop is. There's like a cute little general store called Mass General Store,
Sign me up for that.
and they have like candy and like big wooden barrels. It's so cute. And I
Sign
love it.
me
It's
up.
all walkable.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a fun little town.
And
Like,
do they do a good tailgate there?
We didn't tailgate
You
that
didn't
day.
tailgate. Okay.
No,
Yeah.
no.
I think that tells you a lot. Like when I lived in West Virginia, their tailgates were so different, but like it would be all in like a parking lot. Like in the SEC, a lot of the times, like it's different. You have it like in grass or this or that, but it was so cool and so fun and so different.
Yeah.
But it tells you a lot about like the culture of a
For
a
sure.
program or
I
their
mean,
fans.
as far as tailgate experience goes, I went to Clemson.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I was at the James Quick game. I mean, whatever we're calling it.
You know what it really is.
Yeah. We went to Clemson for that game, and I knew when people were charging $100 to park a mile and a half from the stadium. I was like, these people don't play.
That's
Like,
the
these
craziest thing
people
I've
do
ever
not
heard.
play.
$100?
Yeah,
That's insane.
it was one of the most outrageous things I've ever seen. in
So
my
that
life.
place is packed.
It's
is what that's
nuts.
telling
And
you.
like Clemson was interesting because it's very much like everything's on campus.
Mm-hmm.
When you get outside of campus, there's nothing.
There's nothing.
There's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
The people were so nice.
Were they?
They were too nice.
I completely. It's like
They
they're
were
just happy to
too
be there.
nice.
It's like, no, I want you to hate me a little bit so I can
No,
respect you.
They were too nice. Like
Yeah.
it was creepy.
Yeah.
Nice. But
There's like some get out
yeah,
situation.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
It's like you're being too nice. You're being fake nice.
Yes.
I don't trust you at all.
Exactly.
You should say something mean to me, and then I'll respect you.
Yeah. Well, somebody did throw a beer at my brother-in-law's friend.
Well, that's not cool.
Well, it was when Clemson was losing during
So
the
good for
game,
them.
So.
But we don't support throwing.
No, we
throwing
don't.
anything.
You don't waste alcohol like that.
Never. Thank you, Chrissy. Tell the truth.
Yeah, no, Clemson was a good experience. I would go back to Clemson
Would
for
you?
a game. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would. I'd probably plan it a little bit differently.
Yeah.
We ended up having to stay pretty far away from. It was like an hour that we ended up staying.
Yeah.
So I'd probably plan a little better. But as far as game day experience, they've got so much tradition. It's so fun.
Which is so interesting. I feel like they're the SEC school of the ACC.
They are.
You know what I mean?
They are.
It's like they have that football tradition. Like most of the ACC is like basketball. So it's like I wouldn't expect a crazy tailgate game day experience from an ACC school, but Clemson has that kind of SEC feel to it.
For sure. I would
know?
100% agree with that. So as far as I've got some week 0
Come
and
on, let's
week
go.
1
Let's do some
predictions.
picks.
If
Let's
you
do
want to
it.
jump into those,
I would love to.
let's hop off with week 0. FSU's playing Georgia Tech over in Ireland. Noon. That's a wild week 0 game to
And
me.
it's just so weird that those are the two teams in Ireland. Like, what is the connection?
Yeah, so we actually have FSU favored by 10.5 on
Yeah.
that game.
I'd give them the over.
You'd give them the over? Okay,
Yeah.
so do you have a score prediction for that game, if you had to guess?
Let's go 21-10.
Okay, so I have 32-14
Okay, like
to
it.
Florida State on that one. Georgia Tech overhauled their defensive staff this year, so I'll be interested to see how that goes for them. But FSU has DJ making his debut at quarterback this year.
There we go.
So I think that's gonna be
gonna be a
a
good one.
battle. Now Georgia Tech, though, their quarterback led the ACC last year in interceptions. So I think Florida State's defense is gonna absolutely tear
They're
them
gonna
apart.
eat. They're gonna feast. This is gonna be good.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And speaking of Clemson, the SEC team of the ACC, they are going to face off against Georgia in week 1, and Georgia is favored by 14 in that one.
Bye, Clemson.
Yeah.
See you next
I already
year.
knew who you were going to take in that
No,
one.
come on.
I'm going to take UGA 42-21 on that one.
I like that. I'm going 35-14.
Okay. Next up, we've got
Dogs.
Notre Dame at Texas A&M, which is a very interesting matchup to me. A&M is actually favored by 2.5.
A&M is getting so much offseason love. Explain it to me. Riddle me that. Explain that to me. Got a new head coach. Y'all ain't done anything in the past few years. Why are you getting love? And what has your head coach done? Tell me.
So both teams in their last 5 games have put up a minimum of 30 points. Notre Dame and A&M both. I'm going to take Notre Dame 38-35 on that one. I think it's going to be a tight matchup. I think you're going to see a lot of offense in that one. So I'm going to take Notre Dame by 3 on that one, even though it's at A&M.
I'm going Notre Dame also by 3, but I'm going 31-28.
Okay. We will finish our predictions off with the Louisville and Kentucky predictions. Louisville is going to face off against Austin Peay. I'm going to take Louisville 42-7 on that one. I think that's going to be an easy win. I think they're going to win big. A lot of strong defense, a lot of explosive offense.
I like that.
They'll come out strong at home.
I'm going to go very similar, but I'm going to do 35-7.
Okay.
Cards for sure in that one.
And then lastly, and certainly least, we've got UK favored by 26 over Southern.
Don't trust it. Don't trust it.
Don't trust it?
Do not trust
I got
it.
them winning 35-14. Do you think that's too generous?
I'm going 28-7.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's not just new offensive coordinator. You're trying to get your bearings. This is not a program that has been very generous to an offense to do their own thing, especially in the early games of a season. It's been very constricted. I just don't expect them to come out there and let it fly, especially new playbook, new offensive coordinator. I don't think they're going to show everything that they have, all of their tools, all of their weapons. 28-7.
Okay.
Hopefully. I have no faith.
I can't wait to revisit this after week 1.
I'm with you. Okay, so I want to ask you. So I think last year's week 0 showed us so much about it kind of foretold the season in a lot of ways. The matchups aren't necessarily the same. Now, read me off the week 0 matchups again.
I don't have them all. I only had FSU and Georgia Tech pulled up.
Okay.
The other ones
So let's do week 0 and week 1.
Okay.
Like, which matchup do you think is going to tell you the most?
Out of the ones we just went through?
Mm-hmm.
Notre Dame and Texas A&M.
Yeah, I'd say so too. I think there's always kind of that outlier in those first few games that okay, you get a feel of even the conference, of even how the conference plays against a team like that, an out of conference game, who looks good, who doesn't, how the rest of the conference even competes against that team.
Yeah,
kind of paints a picture for the rest of the season.
As far as week 1 games go, we probably shouldn't sleep on USC and LSU.
For sure.
That's going to be a big one to watch.
Heck yeah. Brian Kelly, man.
Yeah. I don't think that one's going to necessarily be as telling as Notre Dame and Texas A&M. I might have to see how the Irish do against the Aggies and then change my predictions.
Change your predictions
season.
Yeah, I just do not understand the Texas A&M love. It's very true. I don't. If Mark Stoops was their coach right now, if that deal went through, they would not be getting the same love even a little bit. I'm telling you,
not even a little bit.
Texas A&M, I just don't get it. What have they ever proven? What have they ever done? You had Johnny Manziel. Why are you getting this much cred right now? Don't get it, and don't support it, and don't agree with it, and don't buy into it.
How do you feel about Texas
A&M? And I'm gonna, let me tell you the truth of how I feel now. I'm just kidding. That's exactly how I feel.
So football isn't the only sport about to kick off. We are headed straight into volleyball season.
Let's go.
And they are kicking things off huge
They
this
are.
year. I had the opportunity to sit down with Dani Busboom Kelly earlier today and chat with her about Louisville hosting the AVCA First Serve Showcase this upcoming Tuesday, which is a big deal for everybody in the state. UK and U of L, respectively, have had good seasons recently. So we're going to see Nebraska face off against Kentucky and Wisconsin face off against Louisville Tuesday night at the Yum Center, which is a huge deal. And it was awesome to be able to sit down with her and talk to her about that. So we'll have that full interview available for you guys. But the seasons coming up are going to be a big deal. I did ask her. I was like, "Are you going to scout the first game on Tuesday when Nebraska plays Kentucky? Because Louisville plays both of those teams during the regular season this year,
Mhm.
and they're going to be huge matchups. And Louisville's also hosting the Final Four this year, so they have an opportunity to play well through the season and host, play in a Final Four here at home.
And that's
It's going to be a
awesome.
big deal. Yeah.
What I love about volleyball coaches at U of L and UK is like they show no fear in scheduling preseason or even early season games against the best of the best. We saw UK do that a few years ago, coming off a national title, try to rebuild their program. And Nebraska is one of the hardest teams. And what I'm so proud of is that Louisville and Kentucky have entered that conversation. There's only so many teams who have ever won a national championship in volleyball, and a lot of them are Big Ten. They're these Midwestern teams, but I feel like the past 5 or so years, Louisville and Kentucky have been put on the map as always being a contender for a national title, and that's huge. And I think it's grown the game in a very big way here, but even put it on such a national stage that there's more people competing for this spot. And that takes some guts to do that, to really
It does.
see
Yeah.
what your team is about early, see what your weaknesses are, and schedule the best of the best. And I'm so excited for this interview. And you talked about one of your favorite parts was talking about some of the returning pieces for Louisville and who the
Anna
captains are going to
Jeer,
be. Yeah.
Anna Scott. I mean, it's
Yeah.
going to be an incredible year for Louisville, and it should be another good year for Kentucky as well. And you're going to get to see that showcased early on Tuesday night if you guys are headed out to the Yum Center. That's going to be a really big deal.
It's
It's
gonna
going
be
to be
great.
exciting.
And
It's going
just
to
for
be
like
packed.
little girls and boys around here who play volleyball, I just can't imagine a more exciting thing to go
No,
to when you love that sport. And
our little boy Brian Hall plays
our little boy, our little boy Brian Hall will be there cheering on because he loves the sport and he wants to make it
volleyball.
big one day, and he will.
He will. He will. Yeah. So we have that interview with Dani Busboom Kelly. We talked a little bit earlier about NIL giving a lot to women's athletes. But as far as things go for professional athletes, Angel Reese had a big announcement this week, and I am all about it. Angel Reese signing on with Reese's Pieces. That is huge. Like
About dang time.
that's such a gimme. Like, how do you not just see that from the get-go? And I wonder if it's something they had been working on or if it's something that their marketing team was finally like, "Oh yeah."
I pray that they had been working on it because it was so obvious. And she had called her fans the Reese's Pieces for like
Yeah.
ever. And she's even hinted at it like the past couple months in tweets and stuff. She's like talked about Reese's Pieces and a sponsorship. So I'm hoping they had it in the works. If not, these companies need to step up. What are you doing? It's such a home
I
run.
know, I know.
But good
And
for
like
her.
good for her. And the clothing line too, like we have to get some,
We have
right?
to get some.
We
We
have
will
to
get
get some.
some.
We will
Come
get
on.
some.
I'm
We'll
ready
get
for them
some.
to start coming out with like some lashes and some nails, and I'll be all about that. I would buy every little thing they put out.
I will never get over lash companies not endorsing Dana Evans.
How? Literally how? Well, that's the whole thing. It's
She's
like,
the lash queen.
and before NIL, I think all these companies thought, okay, the men are the most marketable because that's what they've always been told. But how incredible has it been to see how the people who make the most of NIL in college are always women's athletes? It shows their power and
Yeah.
their just their marketability in so many different realms.
Well, and I think Cameron Brink did a Skims campaign.
Yeah,
Like
she did. And so many WNBA people did. Which
yeah,
was
and you're really
awesome.
starting to see them break more into these companies who are focused, more
Mhm.
women's focused. They're not just doing Gatorade ads or
Right.
Dick's Sporting Goods ads. No shade to Haley Van Lith, like that was a good thing for her.
Yeah.
But doing a Skims ad. Like, that would have been unheard of 5 years ago.
Because it's like they finally see them as a whole woman who like wears makeup and plays sports and
And that you can
wears
do
different clothes
both, and the
that
two
you
can
can do.
overlap.
And look at like all the fashion they've been bringing in, walking in the tunnels and stuff for
Oh my
WNBA
gosh.
games. It just completely changed the game because it's like, okay, now because it's marketable, we're able to see these athletes as actual women
Yes.
and not just as
Yeah.
it's just a girl kind of who's like a boy playing a boy sport. It's like
Yeah.
there's so much more there and more in depth there, and it's good, and like there's some bad to it. Like it's been, just overly like, well, this person's hot, we're gonna cheer for their team. But it's like at least there's eyes being brought to it that it's like you're seeing the whole woman now and not just like a subset of a guy playing a sport. Right?
Absolutely.
There's more to
Absolutely.
it, which is cool.
Speaking of endorsements, one more shout out to Round Daddy Tees, who provided us with an outlet for our own merch line. So be sure to check that out. Also, if you would like to follow myself and Anna, our Twitter tags are linked in the screen below. And also be sure to follow the Who Told You That to Say That podcast pages on Twitter and on Instagram.
Yeah, and just buy a t-shirt with our faces on it.
We will sign them.
Yeah, we will.
We will sign them.
Buy it for your loved ones for Christmas.
Yeah.
Buy it for your grandma, your child.
Christmas is coming up.
Ooh.
Maybe we'll do some Christmas shirts.
Christmas is coming. Yeah.
We'll think about it. Buy a t-shirt with our faces on it.
Yeah.
All right. That's all we've got for you guys this week. Anna, thank you. Brian, Bosch, thank you so much for being behind the scenes. And we will see you guys next time.